Hi, my name is Emily, and I'm on the events team at the Ann Arbor District Library. And today, along with my colleagues Christopher and Loren, am going to show you an art project that is particular to social distancing that I'm calling Quarancartography. In other words, it's the process of taking our experience while we've been social distancing over the past several weeks and making it into a map. I think this project is fun and interesting for a couple of reasons. The first is that it can help us as individuals understand better what we're going through, what we're experiencing during quarantine and social distancing, which can be very difficult. And it's a way for us to put on paper what we might be feeling or experiencing. It's also a way for us to create a record. So in the future, we can look back and say, oh, wow, this is what it was really like for me. It's also a great way to share our experience with other people. We can draw a map and share it with our friends and our family. And this project gives you the opportunity to really decide how much time and effort you want to invest in it. Everybody's map is going to be different. You can spend 15 minutes on it and just do it in your journal with a pencil or a ballpoint pen, or you can make a very elaborate and detailed map that might take you days to complete. It's also up to you how personal or how private you want to make it, and how expressive you want it to be. You might decide that you want it to be kind of light and fluffy because you want it to you want to share it with your friends and family. Or you might decide that actually you want to make it really personal, and you might write about some of the more difficult experiences and emotions that you've been going through during your social distancing time. And what we're going to do in this video is Christopher and Loren and I are going to show you 3 different types of maps that you can make. So I'm going for a more fantasy, like straight up fantasy map. If you think of, Tolkien's map and Lord of the Rings, that's the style that I'm going to be working in. Christopher is doing a map that's more kind of like a mind map where he's showing us the literature he's been reading and the songs he's been listening to, and that have been important to him during social distancing time. And then Loren is going to be sharing a map with us that's really about his experience walking around his neighborhood. So these are just 3 different ideas for how to do it. And we're including a little instruction, and I'm going to include more instruction on my kind of fantasy type map. But really the purpose of this video is just to give you a starting point for this project. So I'm going to show you the process that I'm going through to create my map, and I'm going to make mine a little more complex, and so I'm actually going to spend a couple of days doing it. But I'm also going to show you videos from Christopher and Loren talking about their process and showing you how they made their maps and why they did it that way. So for the resources that you'll need, they can be as simple or as complex as you'd like. So I'm going to be drawing on some mixed media kind of sketch paper. But again, you could do this inside of a journal. You can do this, on as fancy or plain as a paper as you'd like. I am going to be using pencil. So I'm going to be starting off with pencil, and this is a pretty hard pencil. So if you have a set of sketching pencils, start with the ones that are on the harder side, because what we're going to be doing is laying down a sketch in pencil and then doing ink over it and then erasing the pencil. And so for that, you're also going to need a kneaded eraser. It's not, you just need a good eraser. School erasers and erasers that are on the tips of pencils are not really going to cut it here. You just need an artist's eraser. So this is a kneaded eraser. This is something that artists use, and it's really nice because you can form it into points to get it into as fine a place as you need it. But there are lots of different types of artists erasers. But I would definitely recommend that. A good eraser for this project if you want to go the route of drawing in pencil and then inking. For my pens, I'm going to be using 3 sizes of micron pens here, and so I've got a 1, a 3, and a 5. And so I'm going to be using those for, those refer to the different line thicknesses. And I'm going to be using them at different points, and you'll see. And I'm also going to be using this larger brush pen as well for just a couple of the details. So now I'm going to get into how to start this fantasy style map. And then I will just basically lay down the basics, give you kind of the basic principles, and then I'm going to show you Christopher and Loren's maps, which are really awesome and amazing. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how I finished my map and what it means to me. So for the purposes of this, I'm actually not going to be using this pencil right now. This very hard, light pencil. I'm actually going to be using a layout pencil, which does very thick lines because this lighter pencil just won't show up on the camera. So basically, I'm looking at my sheet of paper here and I'm thinking about a landmass that I want to appear on it. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to really kind of loosey-goosey here. I'm just freehanding this. I'm just going to come around here and draw a border. And it's just going to be one line. And the reason why is that I know I want my finished map to have a border. So this will get erased. I'll come in here with a ruler later and make a nice looking border. But I just want to make sure that I don't get my drawing of my landmass too close to the edge of the paper. So I've got room for my border there. And likewise, I'm just going to kind of sketch out a little area here that this is where my title of my map is going to be. So I already did some brainstorming about my map, and I decided what kinds of places I wanted to be there, the type of place that I wanted it to be, and and I'm just making this kind of goofy fantasy map out of my experience quarantining. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like for me. I decided to divide my map into 4, I don't know if I want to call them city-states, they could be counties, they could be states, whatever. But basically, I want to talk about the ways that I've been distracting myself, the ways that I've been making things. I've been making a lot of stuff, the feelings that I've been having, and my relationships with other people. And there's a lot more stuff that I could talk about, but those are kind of the 4 things. So I decided that I wanted to take those 4 things and make them into, each of those will be a section on the map. And then each of the things that is pertinent to that will be represented on the map either as a geographical feature or a city. So for instance, with the distraction portion of the map, I'm going to be talking about, the videos that I've been watching during social distancing, or the music that I've been listening to, the things that I've been kind of, distracting myself with. So now that I've got a border, just, I don't even know if you can see it. It doesn't really matter that much at this point. Now that I've got a border and I've got a place here that I've reserved for the title of my map, I'm just going to just really sketchily, I'm just going to draw out a landmass. So you see, this is what it looks like. It's just a really sketchy. So normally I would be doing that in extremely light pencil, and this is just the barest outline of what I want this to look like, which is an island. You can make your map whatever you want, but for me it makes sense to envision social distancing as an island. So the first thing that I'm going to do then is I'm going to go in and really do my coastline in more detail. I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to add some random shapes. And I can deviate from this line that I have drawn. So what I'm trying to go for here is to make a fairly realistic looking coastline. And it's kind of jagged because this is a pretty small island that I'm envisioning. Maybe it's a couple of miles across. So the next thing that I want to do then is, and this is totally up to you, if you're going to divide your map into, say, different, states, counties, city states, or whatever, is just to add what I think would be the borders of each of those states. Then I can start thinking about geographical features. So, usually if you look at real maps, if you look at real countries, it is often the case that political borders will follow geographic borders like mountains and rivers. So now that I've put in my borders, so this is working backwards, but now that I've put in my borders for my different states here, I'll just call them states for now, then I can start thinking about what geographical features I want to put in here. So I think right here, since this is a border between two states, I'm going to add some mountains. And I'm just going to do this real quick and dirty here. I'm just literally just putting some basically triangles in. And I will, I'll come in later and make these, they're not going to be realistic, but they'll be a little more filled out. Now, a river is going to originate in this mountain range, so I'm just gonna get this river to kind of wind over here and then curve around and go right parallel to this other border. So I don't know if that's super realistic, but rivers are interesting. So I'm just going to add some tributaries to it. One thing that I have has been impressed upon me as I'm doing these this map making stuff is to make sure that I'm thinking about water as rivers as getting thicker and more unified as they go to the ocean, except when they might have like a delta right at the ocean, but not to have the rivers like split as they head toward the sea, if that makes sense. I'll just add another river right here. So, okay, so I'll have this river, and again, this is going to go right along this border. Okay, so I've got a couple of major rivers here. I think I want to add a forest. I think I want to add a large forested area. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of carve out this big blobby shape, and this is going to be a forest, right? And this forest is also crossing a political border. And one thing I've also learned about with map making is the mountain ranges and the wet sides of mountain ranges versus the dry sides. So basically, the idea is that it's called a rain shadow. The idea is that if, say, I've got my prevailing winds going here as I'm looking at it, that they would be going from west to east. So they would be carrying the clouds, and the clouds would be dumping their rain, especially really heavily. So I might put another forest here. I'll just sketch this out too. So they would be dumping the rains, and then they would be going over the mountains, and it would be very dry here. So I'm going to have, I don't know if I'm going to have a desert necessarily, but this might be a drier, maybe a plain or something like that here on this side. So what I want to start thinking about now are my major settlements. And in a case like this, if I've got my 4 city-states, I want to have at least one major settlement for each one, for my province, states, county, whatever these are. And so those are generally going to be right on coastlines. So I might add one here, and I'm just going to denote these with circles for now. So I think I basically have 2 or 3 per place right now, and I think that's fine. So now comes the fun part where I can actually start filling in the names of places and geographical features. So this is where I need to start thinking about what I'm going to call each of these states and what I might call the cities, what I might call the mountain ranges, the rivers, etc. So I first have to decide how I want them to be arranged. So I'm going to start adding my titles in. So I'm going to come here on the side, and I'm going to write in, and again, this is something that you can title however you want. If you want to get really abstract and fancy with it, like I'm using Latin words here because that's what I think is fun. But you can write whatever you want. So carita means care. It's kind of like it's the root word for our word charity. But I'm just thinking of it as being like caring and relationships. So this is going to be, this state right here is going to be the one that's about relationships. So then I think this state, which is right next to it, is going to be the one that has my feelings. And I'm going to call that anima, which is a Latin word that we'll say it means feelings. It kind of means like a person's spirit or their life force. All right. So the next one then, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make this one factia, which is like a made-up version of the Latin word for making things, because this is going to be the all about the stuff that I've been making. And then the last one here is going to be called, oh, I think writing this is going to be fun. Okay, this one is going to be called oblecta. It's kind of hard to see that. And that's basically related to the Latin word for distraction. It's really important if you want to do a map that's kind of more complex like this, it's really important to do everything in pencil first. You don't have to have every single detail, but you do need to have everything sketched out where you want it to go. because if you do the whole map in ink and you don't have any of the place names down, then you're going to have a really hard time figuring out where to cram your place names. They're not going to be easily readable. So I've got my cities marked. I've got my names of my places. I've got just some of my geographical features here, kind of sketched in really, really loosely. And so now I'm going to start thinking about where I want those titles to go. I'm going to start over here in Oblekta with this big forested area. And I think it's going to have two names, right? It's going to have a different name depending on which side of the political border it's on. So I'm going to, on the Oblekta, on the distraction part of the map, I'm going to call this Sander Sides Forest. And that's because I have been watching a lot of Thomas Sanders on YouTube, and in particular his series Sander Sides. So I've been listening to a lot of Florence and the Machine for whatever reason. I mean, it's good music, but really been into that lately. So I am just going to name this city that I've just demarcated here with this circle as Florence, since that's an actual name for a city.
Hello, my name is Christopher, and I want to thank Emily for inviting me to do this map, which is a fictional dreamscape of various places in songs and stories and movies and shows, and we'll see how it goes. I started with this kind of homemade isometric paper. This is just a piece of paper, and I've drawn some parallel lines on it diagonally. You can buy this isometric paper, but I didn't have any around the house, so I just kind of made my own with some faint lines to help give this a 3D look. So I'm just going to start in. If you imagine an imaginary city, in this case, I'm just going to start with, let's start with, um, how about this place right here? I'll make a little spot. This is a famous pub in the stories of Schweik. Whoops, I made a mistake already, and I'm drawing awfully heavy. I'm going to draw light, and I'll put a tree back here. I'll work on that later when I clean it up. So there are a lot more places I could put on here, but I put a few of my favorites. Ukalicha is the pub where Schweik used to visit in Good Soldier Schweik. Manor Farm is here from Animal Farm. This is Electric Avenue from the song. This is a new version of the Overlook Hotel that I like. This is Green Glass House with the stained glass windows. This is the corner of Ninth and Hennepin from Tom Waits. This is Wolfram and Hart from Angel. This is Ichiku Park, as I said earlier from the song. Dead Man's Curve, I think that's Jan and Dean. The Kurova Milk Bar from Clockwork Orange. Road to Nowhere by the Talking Heads. So I learned a lot from this. I really like using this isometric paper, and like I said, I just made it myself. It was really fun. I guess I've always had an interest in this style of drawing without realizing it before this all started, I brought a few books home from the library. Here's one. The book is called Cinemaps, and I was so taken with this book, and this is a kind of bird's eye or isometric view of the movie Jaws and all the plot points. But there are lots of different movies shown. And I also had this book called, I don't know if you can see it, it's called Look Inside. And here's another example of this kind of exploded or internal view of things that I really like so much. Last thing is I tried using these Posca pen. These are Posca markers, and this is the first time I've really done something like this. It was a lot of fun, and I did try using them to draw schematics and circuits like resistors and capacitors, and it worked really, really well. So I thought I would try it with this too. So thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy making your own kind of dream city. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, my name is Loren, and Emily invited me to participate in her map making project. So I've got a map here that I want to show you in just a second. Before I show you the map, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the idea behind it. Like a lot of people these days, I'm getting outside and taking a lot more walks in my neighborhood. So I'm noticing things, weird idiosyncrasies in my neighborhood that make me smile. And some of the stuff has been around for a while, pre-COVID. And some of the signs and things that I've noticed that make me smile are new. They're evidence of kind of our new situation and evidence of people just having more time on their hands back at home. So without further ado, I wanted to show you this good stuff map. Yeah, you can see that it's kind of playing with some typical principles of a map. Like I've got a key here. Hopefully your eye, after you see the title up top, you go over to that key and you can kind of read the basic description of what's going on in the map. Basically, I've got, it looks like maybe about 8, 9 different things that I have noticed myself, again, looking forward to seeing when I'm walking around. So, for instance, I've got this cult of the 8-pointed star. I noticed that there are these 2 little houses in my neighborhood that both have these cool origami-looking multicolored stars. I live pretty close to downtown, and so I've got easy access to the downtown branch of the public library, as well as that unforgettable mural currently across the street from the downtown branch. Instead of writing a completely accurate description of whatever it is catching my eye, I thought it would just be fun to like play with these titles of stuff. Back to the key for a second, you can see that I've got like low-lying fruit, the medium height stuff, and then the high in the sky stuff. You see I've got a few low-hanging fruit too, like this sticker of this, it looks like some sort of graffiti tag that's pretty close to me, and I see it a lot and I love it, so I wanted to highlight that. Another one was just this ephemeral chalk drawing. And some of this stuff is here for the longer term. Like there's a really nice, I don't know what this is, but like a cairn of some kind. I'm really not sure what the use of this is. I knew I needed that in the map. A little nod to Charlie Brown. I've got a kite-killing tree in the park near where I live. And I love this other vegetation that's near me too, these lanky puffball trees. I went a little crazy with my straight edge tool and just some like pens and markers as far as tools go. I did use another sheet of paper first to get the idea, get the lettering tight on the title especially. So yeah, that just ended up making it look nice and clean at the end. So that's my good stuff map, and thanks again, Emily, for this cool idea.
Hi, welcome back. All right, this is day 2 for me of working on my map. So, right, this is what I've got so far. Right, I went in with pencil. I started with my coastline, my borders, my geographical features. I decided where I wanted my settlements, my cities and towns to be. I put in the names for everything in pencil, and then I started inking it. And I've been using different thicknesses of pen to get some different effects. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go around the coastline and add some lines so it looks more like an island. You'll see what I'm talking about. I don't know what these lines are actually called on maps, but you'll see when you'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm also just going to add my title to the map and any other embellishments, and then I'm going to put in some color with colored pencils. Okay, and here is the finished map. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So what I did here to finish was I had to redraw the actual coastline because I realized that I had accidentally done it in a lighter pen than I wanted to. So I traced around it again, and then I put this extra line around the coast that kind of shows the depth of the water around. And I also added some islands just because I think that they make a nice, they just give it a kind of nice complete look. And I colored in the different geographical features, and then I added a very light background color for the each of these little provinces, which kind of distinguishes them from each other. And yeah, and I added a title and a compass rose, and that's that. So it's a really simple project. One of the things that I really like about drawing fantasy maps like this is you don't have to be an artist or calligrapher to do it. Really, all you're drawing are like random shapes and abstract symbols. That's really what it is. You don't have to be an artist to do it. But you can still produce something that looks pretty good. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I bet if I put this away somewhere a few years from now, I will be able to take this out and be like, wow, it was my quarantine map. And look at all the stuff that I was doing and look at where I was. So for that reason alone, I think it's worth it. So yeah, I hope you have fun with this project. I hope that, if this wasn't the style that you wanted, that you got some great ideas from Christopher and Loren. And I hope that you are able to create a great project of your own. Thank you.